Thank you. Dear students, we are talking about the different types of cupola. There's are furnaces like cupola, electric, gas, all these things yesterday, and day before yesterday. We are dealing with that things. Now we'll look into the some other aspect like die casting, centrifugal casting, continuous casting, cold and hot chamber casting. All these casting procedures comes under pressure die casting. Pressure die casting. All those things which we learned earlier, there is only sand die casting. Sand mold casting. Sand ಇರುತ್ತೆ, mold box ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ molten metal ನ pour ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. But whereas in this process, there is no sand. Directly there is a die ಒಳಗಡೆನೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ ನಾವು molten metal ನ pour ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. Then we take the castings. Means the purpose is that the sand is eliminated here. Means the usage of sand is not there in this process. These are some of the advanced level of casting process. That is a traditional method of sand casting is a traditional method. It's the oldest method. These are the new advanced method. Okay. Let us see one by one. What is that exactly meant by die casting? So what is the die casting? Die casting means there is a die for this. Something like a mold pattern there. Here there is a die shape. Already shape is there in the die. It is made up of a metal die where you pour the molten metal and it will take the shape. Something like how you manufacture 1 rupee coin. There's a die. You pour the molten metal, just press it. Whatever the symbol, the numbers, the emblem, the figure, structure, whatever you want, it will be embossed over that. Okay, it's called die casting. Well, let us see. We'll understand one by one about this die casting. Gravity die casting, pressure die casting. If the flow of the molten metal into the casting cavity is due to gravity effect, is called gravity die casting. Something like there is something like a long chamber where automatically molten metal will flow and it will settle down in the dies because of the gravitational force. Then it is called gravity die casting. If it is, if just a minute. And one more thing, you have to remember the things like it's a pressure die casting. Pressure die casting nothing but the molten metal will be supplied by external pressure. And there something like on pressure pump will be there. It will push the molten metal and it will pour into the dice. That is the meaning of these things. Gravity means automatic. Something like I give you example. You take a two-wheeler. Where is a petrol tank? Where is a petrol tank in the two-wheelers? Is it audible?
Sir,
Where is there? Where is the petrol tank?
sir, behind last.
No. Okay, that's fine. What is the position of petrol tank? What is the position of engine? How the petrol will flow from to the engine? Will flow from the engine.
Due to gravity.
Yeah. So no, gravity very simple because the pump is at the very in a some other height altitude and below that there is an engine part. Because of gravity, slowly when you turn the knob, slowly petrol will come and it will go into the carburetor and it will go to the engine because of gravity. There is no pump here to push the petrol. So suppose, okay, in the cars, where is the petrol tank? Behind the rear vehicle, rear wheel. Where is the engine? In the front side. How the petrol will flow from the petrol tank to engine? Is it because of gravity? Is it because of gravity? No, exactly. There is a yes, there's a fuel pump here. It will pump, it will suck the petrol from the petrol tank and it will push. Similarly, very good, very clear. This is an example, something like gravity means automatically it will flow. Pressure means you have to do some external pressure. You should keep some pump. Right. Let us see the permanent gravity die casting. Similar to sand die casting, use it to for pouring at least 1,000 to up to 1 lakh casting cycles. Means if I get some lot of small components to make 1,000 product, 2,000 product, 5,000 products, then I'll go for permanent die cast. Then usually people will do permanent die casting. If you want, I can show that permanent die casting. When you come to my chamber, and we have made it one permanent die for manufacturing the spoon. That you can see that. Okay. So usually made up of a metals. It will be made up of a metal, and initially cost will be more because of metal molding. Its cost will be more. Both ferrous and non-ferrous metals alloys can be used for making this. Let us see one pressure die casting. See that this shaded portion is the mold. See, this is the shape where you have. This is the shape you have. When this is the molten metal. See, when molten metal will come and it will occupy in the space, this will go into press. This will go into press. Then what happens? The shape, whatever the shape you want, it will take. So what they will do, they will powder spring over the die surface. First, initially, they will little bit, they will heat this dice. It's called preheating of dice because when you pour molten metal, suddenly what happens? This molten metal will stick to the surface. To avoid that, what they will do, they will heat this dice also. Clear? So this is what this is the one will be stationary. This will be fixed. This will be moving because there is a hydraulic cylinder, something like a piston. It will push like this to the towards right hand side, right side. So it will move, and whatever shape like this, the component or product, it will come out. Okay. When it is moving, when this portion is moving like this, a little bit of mold means little not little sufficient amount of molten metal will be poured here. So it will occupy the dice here and it will get done. So this is how. See here. This is a piston. This is a die, and these are some of the portions I wanted. See, once this is force is F is applied here, molten metal is poured here. Whatever the gap is there, the same. See, whatever the red color gap, you can see it here. So this brown or red color one, the shape. This is the shape of a component. We are going to take it out. We'll remove this. And that's very simple. There is no sand here. There is no pattern here. Die itself is a molten and it is preheated. Hope you got my point. Yes or no? You are there with me? Yes. So this is a
Yes, sir.
mold, and here itself there's a die. Okay, whatever the shape you want, you will get it here. We'll pour the molten metal. Before putting the molten metal, this both mold is preheated to a certain temperature because to avoid sticking of molten metal to the surface of this dice. So when this are almost in the these are is both are heated, now automatically molten metal will not stick to the surface, and whatever the profile geometry it is created over this dice, the same geometry will come out when it is solidified. That's how it works. Okay. Permanent gravity die casting process. Better mechanical properties will be there. Advantages are better mechanical properties means good strength will be there. Homogeneous, uniformly there will be strength will be uniform. Composition uniformly it will mix and good surface quality and shrinkage will be low shrinkage. As you see it in the sand casting, there will be shrinkage, contraction and expansion will be there. But here it will be no that relatively very less. Disadvantages cost because when you want to make this mold, first initially you have to invest, right? So usually what happens, the first investment will be high. That's the reason cost of the mold is high and simpler shape only. When you want to even you can do maximum whatever the profile you wanted to make it here, you can make it a the only simply simplified shape can be simple shape, simple geometry can be done. Next, see this. This is a piston. This is how you get it from the after molding all this pattern. What they will do, they will trim it off. They'll cut this portion, they'll cut this portion, they'll trim it off here, they will good surface finish. See, after machining how it looks, this is the piston cap. Can you see this? This is the first,
Yes, sir.
this is the first output. Then what they'll do, they'll take it to the next level process, secondary process. They will trim off this, they'll trim off this, they'll make a good quality hole here, they'll drill and they'll give good surface print. All this can be done with the some other extra process that I'll discuss in the next class. What are the extra process they're going to do? See now here it is blur, whereas here it is shining like a mirror. All this surface finish can be enhanced. And what is the dry pressure die casting? Look at this. The same mold is there. Where it is not poured from the top, it is poured from the bottom here. So hence you require a plunger here. Plunger means external pressure. Okay, you pour it here and you press it here, the molten metal, and it will come and occupy inside the chamber. Whatever the shape you want, you get it. After solidification, there is an ejector die. They will press this, it will open. Then they will remove this part. This is called pressure die casting. Pressure die casting means the pressure, external pressure will be acting to push the molten metal into the cavities or dies. Okay, this is the only difference. Whereas here, can you see this? Only we are pouring from the top because of gravity, it will flow here. Because of gravity, it will flow inside the dies. Whereas here, because of pressure, it is filled here. Hope you got the points right now. What is the difference between gravity and pressure die casting? If somebody tells you what is gravity, suddenly you should be able to remember this diagram. So you can make you can make suitable. You can draw suitable diagram. Not need to be like this. You can make your convenient one. You can keep one small pump kind of thing, some chamber, pushing cylinder. You can do that. You can write this. So there are two types of die casting process here. Okay, hot chamber and cold chamber. Furnace is integral part. In the hot chamber, furnace will be there. It will be integrated. It will be added inside the casting process. Whereas cold chamber, metal is melted separately and it is taken out and supplied separately to the casting process. Let us see one by one. This is the hot chamber. This is a molten metal. See, this is the mold. This is a full chamber, hot chamber. This is a liquid molten metal. And this is a cylinder. This is a plunger. When they push this cylinder downwards, this purple color, when they push bottom, the liquid will flow here into the die. This is the die and mold, and you'll get the component. Means there is a push. Then why it is called hot chamber? Because this furnace is integrated. See, this furnace is next to this mold cavity. So this will be keep on eating, keep on eating, keep on eating, keep on. It will maintain the molten metal in the same liquid phase. Whatever the temperature is required, it will be required. This is a plunger arrangement. When this plunger moves down, it will pump, it will push the molten metal to the cylinder. Then it will stop. Something like a borewell. How it works like this? It will pump when it comes down. It will push the molten metal. Clear? So
Yes,
uh,
sir.
this is a odd chamber. Yes, this is a odd chamber which is just to the mold box. Just to the mold box. ಈ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲೇ ಅಕ್ಕಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಆಡ್ ಚೇಂಬರ್ ಫರ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈಟಿಂಗ್ ಕೀಪ್ ಆನ್ ಈಟಿಂಗ್ ಈ ಈಟಿಂಗ್ ನಡೀತಾನೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಮೋಲ್ಟನ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ದಿಲ್ ಪುಷ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಡ್ ಚೇಂಬರ್ die casting. Odd chamber die casting. See here, this is the mold, this is a chamber. They push it, they push it. This is one more, right? Right, something like this. There are different combinations. Cycle in hot chamber, something like they'll push down, remove up, plunger. Sometimes they'll use hydraulic, sometimes they'll use pneumatic. Okay, all these things they'll use. So, what are the advantages? High production rate. If you want to make 500 parts per hour, I'll go for hot chamber because production rate will be very high. Okay, application limited to low melting point metal. They're not chemical attacks. Means whenever you're using the molten metal, this plunger, whenever you push down, this plunger should not react with molten metal. And any chemical reaction agi, idal rust agi, ಅಥವಾ composition change ಆಗೋ ತರ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. That's the meaning of this. Casting metals like zinc, tin, lead, and magnesium, usually they will go for hot chamber process. Then what is the gold chamber, sir? Gold chambers. Look at this. Already there is somewhere there is a furnace. They'll bring the molten metal in the ladle and they'll pour it here. This ram, this plunger will move like this. Here it will fill. Means hot chamber is not there here in this. It is excluded. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಟ್ ಚೇಂಬರ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಲ್ಯಾಡಲ್ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಬಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಮೋಲ್ಟನ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಗ್ರಾಫೈಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಡಲ್ okay they will come with the molten metal and they will pour it and they will take away this whereas here next to the mold there is a furnace. Getting my point?
Yes,
Getting
sir.
my point? Are you there with me?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. So this is a cold chamber. This is a die. And this is the shape we want. And when you pour the molten metal, a large force is exerted here. This plunger will move and will push the molten metal tightly. It fills the gap here. After cooling, what are the castings? They will take it aluminum, brass, magnesium alloys. They go for cold chamber. They go for cold chamber. So advantages: die casting highly productivity, were productive with low dimension tolerance, high surface quality. As I told, I have shown the figure, piston figure. It's very high productivity. If you want to make more products in a less number of time, definitely we'll go for pressure die casting. Actually, I wanted to take you for the industrial trip for aluminum die casting company, pressure die casting company, which is near to our college. But since they are not allowing, I'm just showing some of the diagrams here and figures all these things. Definitely, once it open, definitely we'll visit without missing this. I don't know because of this condition, I cannot able to. I'm not getting the permission there. Otherwise, definitely it's a must for every mechanical engineer to see this production process. Next, disadvantages. Expensive die as I told, it's very cost. Initial cost is very high. Small parts up to 15 kg. The weight should be less than 15 kg. If you want to make more than 15 kg or say 20 kg, something like this, what happens? The metal flow inside this will not be uniform. That's the reason why they'll not go for this. Complex and large machineries expensive because you require a attachment like this. Can you see this? You require this, you require plunger, all these things. You see, you require some extra materials, extra components. All these are very costly for maintenance. So this is about the pressure die casting. So as I told in the sand casting, there is some investment casting. What are the investment casting? Sir, the pattern is there. This is the mold box. This is the pattern. It is made up of a wax. Made up of a wax. They'll keep it here. They'll pour the molten metal over the surface. What happens? Because of the high temperature, this wax gets melted. It in the form of gas, it will come out. What happened here? Then you have to, if you want to make next component, you cannot use this because this will not be there. It will convert into gas and it will go. This is called investment because you are investing wax here. Sometimes, usually what they will do, they will keep wood pattern, metal pattern. They'll keep it in the sand. They'll remove that. Then they'll pour it. But here, sometimes whatever they will keep the wax pattern. They press it and tape. But again, it will not be there for next usage. Only for single use, you make it this wax pattern. Similarly, this is a gated pattern. Gated pattern means once you pour n number of components, you can make multiple patterns. This is a use. These are the same figures. And see, injection, injecting the wax here, ejecting the wax, pattern assembly, slurry coating, next sand posting, dewax, pouring, snake out, finish. See, first they will take this one, wax will be there and they'll keep the pattern wherever they want. They'll keep that. They'll coat some gum here. They'll coat some gum over the surface, and they'll fill the sand. They'll dip this whole chamber into the sand, where sand particles will fill it over the surface. Sand particles will fill over this. So when they keep it and they'll pour the molten metal over the surface, what happens? This wax will come out, whereas sand will remove out. So that's everything. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಗಮ್ ಕೋಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಮೋಲ್ಡ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡ್ತಾರೆ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಪೋರ್ ಇಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಮೆಲ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಜಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫ್ರೀ ಕ್ಯಾವಿಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಸೆಟ್ಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ರಿಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ರಿಮೈನ್ ಸೊ ಫೈನಲಿ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಎ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ ಅದರ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ casting, right? So that's all the things. Okay. So ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ casting ಸರ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ jewelry art crafts ಈ ತರ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಸರ್ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಯು ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಬೈ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕೆನ್ ಯು ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ yes you can of course you can make it but it will take a very very long time say rings structure of some kind of snake some animal structure some bird structure some flower structure all these things okay you do it in a single casting see this is the pattern. This is the shell mold wax pattern. And they'll pour the molten metal. They'll get it. Then they'll fix this stones over the surface. ಈ ತರ ಮಾಡಿ ಒನ್ ಟೈಮ್ಗೆ 20 ರಿಂದ 30 ಮಾಡೋದು ಜ್ಯುವೆಲರಿ. This is about the casting. Getting my point?
Getting, sir.
Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Right. Shall I move to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
So investment casting. So good dimension accuracy, relative inexpensive mode, rapid production rates, complex shapes. Whatever the complex shape is, all this jewelry, everything can be made. Dimensions will be good. Expansion will be very less expensive. Okay. What are the disadvantages? Long productive cycle. If you want to make one 10 or a 20 one bunch one time, it will take long time. Mold is not risk. I told that mold once you make it, whether one time, this is an investment kind, it's a one time use. Next time if you want to make it, then you have to go for a different kind, different pattern, different wax you have to take it. So that's the one of the. This is why it is called investment. You are investing some wax here to make the to get the castings. That's why the name investment casting. Let us go to the centrifugal casting. Centrifugal casting, I told many times. Centrifugal casting, very good example is our railway wheel. Where you can see it in a railway factory very near to our college. They produce this wheels in centrifugal casting. How they do, sir? Because if you want to railway wheels, how the structure will be? Is it square shape, rectangular shape, shape?
No, sir.
What is the shape of the wheel?
Circular,
Circular.
sir.
So what is the easiest way of making? See, now look at it. So they will pour the molten metal into cylindrical mold. They will spin, rotate. Look at the diagram here. This is a molten metal chamber, and this is a casting. This is a mold box here. Okay, this is a motor. You fix it. Okay. Once you pour the molten, this this is circular shape. This part, this rectangular part, what you are seeing, it is circular in shape. This will rotate at a very high speed. When it rotates at high speed, what happens? The whole is molten metal uniformly settle down. Uniformly settle down. After solidification, they will remove this wheel. Whatever the shape you want, you get it from this two dice. They just rotate this. That's how they make it. Yeah, ಈ box type ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, this is circular. Actually, if you look at from the top end, top view, it is circular in shape. Circular in shape. Okay. Once you pour this, you rotate this. What happens? Because of the centrifugal force, what happens? This the uniformly this molten metal is spread across the circumference and it will settle down. After a certain time, slowly solidification process goes on. Then they will remove the wheel. That's how they make it. The mold wall is coated with a refractive ceramic coating. Pouring of molten metal directly into the mold. The mold is stopped after the casting solidified. Extraction of the casting from the mold. That's what. There is a molding molten metal. It keeps on coming here, and there is a coating for this because to avoid the heating effect. Okay. Once they pour, they started. Once they solidify, they remove this. So these are ಹೇಳಪ್ಪ got doubts ಇದೆಯಾ?
No, said okay, sir.
Okay, right. So centrifugal casting, extraction of the casting from the mold. This is the procedure. So centrifugal force is produced whenever it's rotating. What happens? Because of centrifugal rotation, what happens? This molten metal will rotate very high speed inside the mold and it will spread across the circumference. Okay, distributing the molten metal around the circumference of the mold, hollow circular component without the usage of the core. See, like this, whenever you want to make the wheel and the core or whatever things, they'll keep it in there like this, n number of like this in the factory. There will be 10, 20, something like this. Per day, they'll produce some around 50 to 100 in a 2 hour or 3 hours. Then they'll solidify, they'll take it to the next level. There's a valve, they work it. So what are the materials that you're going to use it? Iron, steel, stainless steel, glass, alloys, aluminum, copper, nickel. All these materials can be used for centrifugal casting. These are the materials. See here, axis of the rotation. Maybe sometimes they will rotate in a horizontal way, or sometimes they will rotate in the vertical position also. Sometimes they'll rotate like this also. Sometimes they'll rotate like this also in x-axis. Axis of rotation is coinciding with the axis of the mold component is called true centrifugal casting. The axis of the rotation is like this, is coinciding with the axis of the mold. Then it is called true centrifugal casting. If the two lines are coinciding with same axis, then it is called true centrifugal casting. Uniform thickness of the component can be produced around the circumference. That's how they make it. If you want to make eccentric centrifugal, if you want some elliptical shape, some elliptical shape, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಯಾವ್ದು shape ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕಂತೆ, axis of the rotation is not coinciding with the axis of the mold or component. It is called centrifugal casting. What is that? Here box will be rotating here, and this will be rotating like this. Then it is a eccentric centrifugal casting. So what is horizontal? See this. If you want to make some huge pipe, some pipe kind of structure. They'll pour it here, they'll rotate like this. These are the motors here fitted at the bottom. They rotate at very high speed. You'll get a huge pipe, tube, or geometries, diameter, length, all these things can be taken care of horizontal. If you want to make vertical, see here, something like they'll pour it here, they rotate like this, spin it like this. Okay, finally you'll get it something like bucket, some bowl kind of thing. Okay, for industrial purpose. That also you can make it. Like this, you can fix it, you can design based on the requirement, you can design the mold or spinning axis, all these things. Okay. So advantages, large cylindrical parts means cylindrical or spherical or circular parts can be made. Quality will be good. Disadvantage is expensive because you require motor, mold, pouring facilities, all these things. And limited shape. Of course, centrifugal casting means whenever they talk about centrifugal casting, remember, dear students, it's only limited to circular shape only or elliptical shape only. Getting my point?
Okay, sir.
You can have make rectangular, square kind of thing. If you want to make, first you have to make circular, then you have to trim it. That becomes a very costly procedure. Okay. So whenever centrifugal, because of centrifugal force, usually they go for 99.99% is a circular objects. So I told that. These are the example. Wow, what the things they make? Look at this pipe. What is the structure of the pipe geometry? Circular shape. Boilers, vessels, circular shape. Pressure vessels, circular shape. Flywheels in the automobiles, circular shape. All these are in circular in geometry, right? Yes. Any doubts from your side?
No, sir.
Okay, right. This is the examples. So something like this. I'll skip this. This is not a continuous process. I'll do continuous casting. This is a molten metal inside the ladder. Okay, they'll fill it in that sun dish. Okay, and there's a mold here. Two mold. See here, this is a molten metal. If I want to make a rectangle, when this flow inside this, it will roll like this. When it rolls, what happens? You get the square continuous means very lengthy bars. Very lengthy circular bars are very lengthy. Square bars are material. What do you call a pipe kind of structure? You can remove very lengthy pipe. You can take a note from this. Why this is called continuous casting? Because the molten metal is poured in the vertical mode. Dummy starter is kept at the bottom of the mode. As the metal level rises, the starter bar is withdrawn. Can you see this? That this is withdrawn. It's a mold. This roller will act like this. Okay. When it rotates, what happens? It will pull towards the outward. So then what happens? It will pull like from this die. It automatically keeps on coming. If you keep on pouring here, it will keep on coming. Means if you want lengthy objects, you can. Water cooling is used for better solidification. When you taken out this material, keep usually they spray the water here, sprinkle the water. So for easy solidification process. After solidification, is cut into design. If you want 2 meter length, they'll cut. If you want 10 meter length, they'll cut it. They'll keep it for the whatever their requirement says. So can produce any shape, uniform cross section. That's what circular cross section, rectangle, hexagonal, gear toothed, either solid or hollow. Pipe kind of structure or hollow or solid bond. Whatever the shape you want, you can take it out from this continuous casting. But the ನೇಮ್ ನೋಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಹೇಳುವಂತ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಸರ್, ಇದು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ ಲೆಂತ್ ಬೇಕಾ ಆ ಲೆಂತ್ ನಾವು ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬಹುದು. ದಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರ್. ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಪ್ಯಾಟರ್ನ್, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ಯಾಟರ್ನ್. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಟೈಟಲ್ ನೋಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಒಂದು ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮು ಮೈಂಡ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ರೆಡಿ. ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್? ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್? Anything I want to repeat for you? Anything you have any clarification? How many are there? Gautam, Lalit, Sai, Siddharth, Tejas,
No doubt,
Vignesh,
sir.
Chandan,
No doubt, sir.
Karan, Rishi, Mahantesh,
No doubt, sir.
Joshi, Pawan,
No, sir. No, sir.
Bhaskar, Shashank.
No, sir.
ಅಂತ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಟಿ ಇದೆ, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, ಓದ್ತೀರಾ, ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಓದ್ಕೊಂತೀರಾ, ಇನ್ನು ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ವಾ?
ಹೌದು ಸರ್.
ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅರ್ಥ
ಹಾ,
ಆಗಿದೆ
ಸರ್.
ಅಂದ್ರೆ
ಸರ್
ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ